I think we're going. Good morning, adventurers and wanderers alike. I hope you guys got some rest. I'm not sick anymore, but towards the end there, I developed a pretty bad cough and ripped up my throat pretty good. So I'm still not 100%. Let's see, where's the side that can see me the most? So I'm still not 100%, but I'm doing much better, which is awesome. Uh, Today, as promised, we're going to be doing some board game stuff. So here we get to actually take a look at the board game that I'm working on. We're going to play basically just all day here and test and figure stuff out and then see how it goes. So we've got all of our pieces set up here. These are the location tiles. These are going to be our non or generic street tiles, a bunch of different kinds of dice, our characters, which are here, and then the items our characters use. So let's go through and basically set everything up. There's a few more things I need. I've got these nifty little containers that I got here. I'm sorry. Oh God, talking's hard. Give me 1 second. I've got a drink here, and I am going to imbibe said drink and begin the process of enjoyment. Ah, excellent. Perfect. Or, oh no, I probably shouldn't do that on the internet. Uh, everyone. Anyway, so I've got these cool little clear whatchamadoits. And then from just a hobby store is I went and got these little wooden discs like such. They don't really have anything on them, but I drew little symbols here. This is the Godless Worshipper, in case anyone's wondering about the symbology here. So we got this guy. We've got our happy little friend slash devil. We're not quite sure. And then finally we've got the orphaned prodigy. Just little stand-in symbols, so they can use these for player tokens. And then our contract, the thing that we're actually trying to fight and hunt here. So there's a few more little tokens I need here. Grab those out here. Good morning to whoever's popping in. I'm glad you guys could pop in here. Over here, I think these should all be little question marks, which they are. That's fantastic. So set those off to the side as well. Do up my little bottles. Got a whole box of like board game development stuff that's just got little doohickeys like this. And it's super useful. Use them all the time. And I think the last thing is these guys here. Throw these guys out. Oh God. I promise I'm doing better. I promise. It just hurts to talk a little bit. Which is why I'm choking it down with caffeine here. And then our little survivors here, which, as a fun note, just if you're ever trying to do any kind of board game development at home, you don't need to have any of this stuff. I should show off. So these are the tokens that I'm using currently, these little wooden tokens. For many of the first phases of this is what I was using. These are just pennies. Use whatever you got lying around. It's just so much easier if you do it that way. So but I digress. We've got all of our little tokens spread out. We've got all of our little pieces. My desk is getting this camera set up here and everything was not an easy thing to do because I just don't have the cableage in order to get a nice camera set up here. So we're working with what we got here. Got my janky keyboard all situated over here. All right. So in case you haven't heard or don't really know what I'm talking about, or this whole board game thing is basically new, and you're like, well, what are you talking about? Thought we were developing video games here. I've been working on a board game as well. And the board game is inspired by games like Bloodborne and classic horror monster movies and just like gothic themes in general, which is super cool. The idea is that you play as a hunter of some kind, one of these little guys here. Whoop. And you are basically assigned to go hunt some kind of movie monster and ideally eliminate it. But if you can't, you still have other goals and other things that you can do in each game. And there's a couple other nifty little things about it, such as the fact that progress saves from one iteration of the game to the other. So, like, if you play one round, which ideally should be very short, like I like shorter board games, but in theory, if you play one round, if you go into the next round, your progress from the first one will kind of carry over, and that will be more apparent as I set up and play today. So the first thing is that we've got three different characters here. We have our, I don't know, the lighting in here is not great. We have our orphaned prodigy, that is our first character. Our second character is the godless worshipper, which is fantastic here. And then the third character is the handsome fiend, yes. So I'm going to try playing all of these characters, playing alone. Most of my testing has been done with, in theory, the game is for 2 to 3 people, right? And I've been playing, I'm sorry, for 1 to 3 people, where the idea is that 2 is what it's most balanced for. 3 is a little bit easier, and 1 is a little bit more challenging. And I have yet to really play much of the solo version of this game. So let's see if I can even survive my own board game. That may not be a thing that I can do. But we're going to give each of these a try, and I'm going to start with the Orphaned Prodigy. I'll sort of explain the characters and what they do and what they've got going on as we move along here. It's best to learn how to play board games by playing them, I feel anyway. So each of these cards has, or for each character, these are their action cards. This is their action deck, and this is what makes up your character in any particular game. Each character has a rank. Here we can see that this is the novice rank, and it goes all the way up to, if I just cut somewhere down in the bottom here, it goes up. We've got apprentice, and then further down, I believe the last rank is legend, like such. Perfect. I don't know what I'm going to do about that exposure thing. Oh well, anyway. So what determines which cards are your character, right? And then also how strong you are over the course of each subsequent game is that if you are a novice rank orphaned prodigy, then you get all of the cards that say novice on them, right? So in that case, that would be these 4 cards here. This is my character. So in order to save progress from game to game, like if you play a couple games and then you want to go do something else and you come back and want to keep track of your progress, or just even from game to game, this is the, like, everything your character owns right here. And if you get more additional cards from our items decks, which I'll talk about in a minute, they go in this deck, and this just is your character at any given time. So the way we save progress is just whatever's in your deck is what you have, which is pretty cool. It's a very, very concise way of saving progress. So we're going to play as the Orphan Prodigy. I got out all of my novice cards, and I'm going to put all of my other rank cards just over here, I suppose, for the time being. So play in this game takes place in 2 parts. There's the first part where you are at the company, and then you get set up, you decide your character, you do all of that stuff, and then you move towards the contract where you're actually trying to go and hunt the monster. And the first monster that we're going to be hunting today is the Doppelganger, which we will go over in just a moment. But let's do our first phase where we are at the company. It's going to be really short because having just started out, I don't have any items. I don't have any equipment. I don't have anything that my character can do offhand. My character is a brand new, fresh character. So just for the sake of posterity, I'm going to set up the company. as it's supposed to be here. But there's not really anything I'm going to be able to do here. It's just to show off how it would go in a normal game. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing okay there. Do a little quick shuffle for these guys. Oh man, I don't know what I had. I don't think it was the flu or the cold or anything like that, but it is taking me out. Put those over there. And then last but not least, and it doesn't matter too much because we're not going to be able to afford any of this anyway. Wow, this guy is shuffled well. Anyway, so when you begin most games, the way you'll begin is, of course, you'll pick your character. You'll get any relevant cards for whatever is currently in their deck. And then you'll set up the company facilities, which looks kind of like this. So here we have 5 options from each of a various number of departments. And each of these options is essentially an item, right? So let me, oh my goodness, I can't get it off the table. So this is an item. You can use it and take it out with hunts on you. It only lasts for 1 hunt. So if you ever spend your currency, you have to you don't have to use the item, but like it goes away after each game. So if you don't use it, you lose it. And here we can see that this is from the curio department here. So in order to buy this particular item, I need to spend curios in order to do so. And this is kind of what we're playtesting and doing today, is this needs to cost, for example, a certain, oh, pardon me, this needs to cost a certain number of curios in order for me to get it, right? How many curios should it cost? Should it cost 20? Should it cost 0? Should it be free? Should it cost somewhere in the middle? We don't know, right? But we're going to play test today, and we're going to try and figure those things out. Like, how fast do you get curios? How fast do you get everything, basically? We've got our curio shop, and then the second row here is our memento shop, and then down below that is our omens. And you get these different currencies for doing different things in the game. And normally what I would do is I've got my character deck here. I would spend whatever currencies I have, and then I would put those into my character deck, and that's what I would have ready for my next hunt here. Since I'm a fresh character and I have no monies, which is both true in this game and in real life, I'm going to go ahead and scoop these up, and we're going to get ready to go hunt our first monster here. So it's more for show than anything actually useful at the moment. Good morning, everybody. Okay, now let me take a look here. Our very, very first monster that we're going to be fighting is the Doppelganger. There's not really a way for me to show it at the moment, but on one of the screens up here, I actually have a big list and a big document with all of the details about each individual monster. So even though I don't have like a card to show off what they can do at the moment, I do have all of the information written down, so you're just going to have to trust me. Our doppelganger begins with a series of locations. These are our locations, maybe. And they all have different effects. Now, in some more final, polished version of this game, these effects would be written down on the actual tiles, and these tiles would also be bigger, so you don't have to keep referencing some other like rule book as you go along. But since we are in the earlier phases as we are, I'm going to pull out the locations related to the doppelganger, and they are the apothecary. Let me go ahead and find that real quick. Of course, it's the last one. The apothecary, the sanatorium. Fun note, as we were doing some of the names for these, the sanatorium is there's a sanitarium and a sanatorium, and one is for, I believe, treating uh, diseases that are like actual, like you got the flu or the plague or something like that. And the other one is for treating like mental disorders. So there's your fun trivia there. Apothecary, sanatorium, the residences, the sepulcher, cathedral, and hovelnest. Are these all the last ones? Is this the order that this was in? It looks like this is the order this was in. There should be one, two, three, four, five, six locations. Perfect, six locations. Excellent, excellent. So we can go ahead and set the rest of these locations aside. Each of these locations has a special effect if you are on and sometimes near one of these locations, which we'll worry about as those come up. Now, one of the things that I've been playing around with for this boss in particular, one of the nice parts is that each boss can be very modular and very unique, is making sure that this boss actually has a very specific way that you set up the map around it. And that just seems like a lot of fun to do it that way. So what we'll do here is these actually go specifically in an order here. And I'll do I believe it was the apothecary. I'll try and do these in such a fashion so that they're like facing you guys. So the apothecary, the sanatorium, the residences, the hovel nests, um, the cathedral, and then the sepulcher here. And in theory, the prescribed way you would set this up. Oh, playing upside down is going to be a new challenge that I am not ready for. Is we're going to connect all of these with street tiles. These street tiles have random connections on them, right? So you can see like this. And essentially, all you have to make sure is that the distance between each location here, like such, is set up so that there's one continuous path. I don't know how visible that is on the camera there, but we'll try and figure it out. So go here, sort of like that. And I'm just going to randomly sort of draw these off the top as I go along. I want a little bit more variety in some of these, which it doesn't look like I'm going to get. So we'll go here. This guy is connected to that guy like such. Then we've got this guy we'll do like this. And it's right here. And finally, like such. Excellent, 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 excellent. So now there's actually one continuous ring around this entire place. And then I'm just going to fill in the middle with random tiles here. Not really looking here or there, just to make sure that there's like some degree of randomness to it. So I'll pull off these tiles one by one and assort them however I want. Put that guy in like such. Now, in theory, I can play or do a bit of strategizing as I'm going along here, right? Because I, as the player, know, or hopefully know after a little bit of experience, kind of what's coming my way. I kind of know what I'm going to have to deal with as I play this game. And I should set up the board and in some fashion where it's at least slightly easier for me to do the things that I'm going to need to do. That's kind of the goal. Whether or not that's how things end up happening, it will be a different story there. Oh, I don't want to actually put that guy right there. I'm going to stick him right over here. Yeah. Like such. And then this fun guy. Oof. Oof. Bad draws on the tiles here. Oh, terrible draws on the tile. In fact, oh, I'm debating about whether or not I should deal with the tile I drew or if I should find another tile. We'll deal with the one that I drew. This is gonna be rough. Uh oh, this sucks. But that's kind of the joy of it, right? Is that we're trying to make a game that feels kind of like a horror game. So things should not be super concise and easy all of the time. Part of the issue here is that if I'm down at this location, it is not easy for me to get to this location in any way. It's actually really difficult. My only two choices are to go around, or here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jesus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's actually easier to go around the board than it is to try and cut through this middle area for some things, which should be interesting as we fight our first monster here. So let's finish with our setup here. Is each location is going to have a person, which is awesome, right? These are the people that I need to attempt to rescue. Each location also is going to have a curio of some kind, which is awesome. And then that should be pretty much everything here. Now, the thing that we're fighting, or actually, let me give you a little bit again of the lore, if you will, or the um, backstory as to what's going on. So we live in a world where there's monsters and all sorts of ickies and baddies that sort of exist everywhere. And it's basically like horror movie Ghostbusters, right? If there is a monster attacking your town, who do you call? You call the company. And the company sends out a hunter, and the hunter deals with your problem. That's us in this situation. So here, this is the town that we've been sent to. There are little knickknacks that we can sort of pillage from the town to use as tools while we hunt the monster. And then, of course, there are the innocent civilians who still exist in the town and are going about their business. Every monster is very different. And the one that we're fighting is the doppelganger. The doppelganger, in terms of like mythology, so that you know, is a shapeshifter. They appear kind of as anything. And so basically, what we've got in this situation is a town where we know that there is a monster. There are a bunch of innocent civilians going about their daily routine, and just one of them might be the monster, maybe at some point. We don't know. We have to try and find the monster. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's actually one. I'm sorry. There's one piece that I forgot to pull over here. I'll be right back. It's just a little D6 that I'm using here, and this D6 is going to represent the time of day. So the way this monster works in particular is throughout the day, everybody's going to kind of rotate around the board, going around doing whatever it is they do as little innocent civilians in the town. Every so often, as night falls, there's a chance that one of these civilians is going to be executed. And when civilians are executed, it is a bad time. So we'll probably start playing. Let me quick double check how much damage you take. You take something called damage if any innocents die. So we're going to go around and just double check here how much damage I'm supposed to take if a innocent dies. Somewhere I have that listed. I was searching through my big old document over here. Let's use the good old control F function. Um, Interesting. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to double check with my own notes here. Um, so the issue here is that we'll probably. All right, so part of what we're testing today is balance, right? Just the balance of things. The way I have it set up is that the Orphan Prodigy, which is this character, is supposed to be a character that is literally just a child. They are just a child who basically got orphaned by a monster attack in some form or another, and is trying to do their very, very best here. By default, I have their starting health set to 5. That's kind of an arbitrary value I picked just as I needed numbers to go places. So we started off with 5 and based everything around 10. 10 is like just a moderate amount for everything. So as a child, the Orphan Prodigy has very, very low health. The issue is that when everybody takes morale damage, they take morale damage equal to the number of locations on the board. So with 6 locations and 5 hit points, it means that playing solo or even playing with a group of people, if even one innocent dies, then I die. This character dies immediately. So that is a good example of our numbers clashing and something that we are going to need to figure out here. Good morning, Antarctican Leader. I try not to say that name out loud because I know I'll stutter here. But good morning. How you doing today? Anyway, so the question is do we change sort of how much damage you're supposed to take? I don't think so. I like the threat of it being the number of locations, which means that I need to change the amount of starting health that the Orphaned Prodigy has, which should be at least slightly higher than the minimum number of locations in any given town. What determines the number of locations that you have is the monster that you're fighting. So for now, we'll say 6 is a pretty good number. So that means that the Orphaned Prodigy needs to start off with a minimum of 7 health. So we can survive exactly 1 innocent dying. So we'll go ahead and we'll just go ahead and begin playing here. I've got my day counter, I've got my dice in case anything's used, and I've got this going on here. And we'll go about doing whatever it is we do here. So let me get this token, which is supposed to be my character here. And I can start on any tile that is the edge of town and not a location. So I'm glad it sounds fun so far. Wait till I'm excited to play here. So basically, you could start on any place that is the edge of town. The edge of town is any sort of border tile that is not a location. So for me, it's going to have to be anything that connects to the edge of town. I don't know if you can see right here. This tile actually doesn't have a road that leads into it in any way. So I could not start on this tile, for example, but I could start on this one since I've got this singular road that leads towards the edge of the board. I think I'm going to go ahead and start here, as it is kind of arbitrary. And we'll simply begin. So upon saying go, 2 things are going to happen. Time is going to advance, so it is now dawn. And let's double check our boss monster and see if anything special happens on dawn. And the answer is during dawn, each innocent moves 1 space towards the next location in order. So what that means is that each innocent is going to move exactly 1 space in a giant circle here. Blep. I should have put these in the reverse order. That would have made it much easier. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. That's me there, and then this goes... Oh, there's one of these I didn't do correctly. That one. Perfect. As my board gets all messed up here. So dawn, each innocent moves 1 space in a circle here. That's something I might change as well, because that is just a tedious process, and I don't know that I want to make players do that every other turn. It seems a little bit much. Now it is my turn as the player to do whatever it is I want. Here is how actions work. So I've got a couple different actions here. I've got aid, fight, operate, and move. I can play any of these cards and do whatever associated action I want to on these cards as many times as I want in a turn. So I could play this card, bam, and I can do that thing. I can play this card, and I can do that thing. I could actually play all 4 of my cards if I wanted to and do all 4 things, which is awesome. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. The bad news, though, is that in order to get these cards back, I have to wait until my next turn. And unlike how easy it is to spend these cards, I only get the cards back a few at a time. Specifically, as a low-level character, I only get them back 2 at a time. So I'd be able to take back the first 2 that I used, or the last 2 that I used here, but I wouldn't get these cards back until the next turn. So the issue is that while I can do a lot in a single turn, if I overextend myself and do too much and don't accomplish the thing I need to, let's say I super need to do one of these actions, I might be out of luck because I've already spent it and I just haven't spent enough time recuperating in order to get those actions back. So at the start of our turn, I'm going to do 2 things, I do believe. First is I'm going to use a movement card, right? And I am going to sprint because it doesn't really matter. And I am going to... Oh, no, I lied. I'm going to do this a bit differently. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to use an aid card, like such. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the innocent that I share a space with to go ahead and follow me. So I'm going to tell this guy, please start following me, and I'm going to take him as a token for myself. So now I've got an innocent civilian following me around. Then I'm going to use, so there's my aid card played. Next I'm going to use move. I'm going to play that. And I'm going to move 1 space in a direction here to my cathedral and just hang out for a second. Now I know that I get 2 cards back at the start of each turn. At the start of each new like sort of round, I get my cards back, and I'm going to get 2 of them at a time. For the sake of being a little bit risky and a little bit extra, I don't know, just taking larger risks than I normally would, I'm going to go ahead and use 1 more action, basically guaranteeing that I will not get all of my actions back. And the action I'm going to use is operate. What operate lets me do is it lets me rummage around in this location in an attempt to steal, oops, oh my goodness, steal this curio. So that's what I'm going to do. And in order to do so, let me just double check what my prowess is. I have a prowess of 3, and the difficulty is 6. So what that means is just I'm going to roll a 6-sided die, and if the number I get is 3 or less, then I get this curio. So let's go ahead and give that a try. And it's a 5, so I do not actually find anything in my rummaging around. I simply remain on this space, and I will call my turn there. After players take their turns and everybody takes their turn, there's no order to who plays what first. It just is everybody sort of goes at the same time. Then it is the monster turn. Going back over to my document here, let's take a look and see what the monster does during the dawn. And the answer is nothing. Yeah, monster doesn't do anything particularly gross during this phase. So we're happy, we're fine, we're nice. The day ends, and then we go on to our next phase in the day, which is number 2 here. So this is the day part of today. It goes dawn, day, dusk, and then dark, because alliteration is great. And during the day, oops, I dropped a card. During the day, the doppelganger has only 1 effect, and it says, if the doppelganger is currently on the board, remove it from the board. Fortunately, the doppelganger has not appeared. We haven't tracked him down yet, So I can't remove them, so there's nothing else that I need to worry about for that particular thing. Uh, I'm going to get two of my cards back. So we'll put these face down. We'll sort of shuffle them around like this. And then I'm going to take the top two cards like such. And I got back move and operate, which is awesome. So on this space here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm only going to do one operate here. And I'm going to try again to get that curio because I want it. And a 4. Luck is not on my side, so I still do not get this curio here. But we'll go ahead and put that down. And I know that night is coming, and that's when the doppelganger is going to do its creepy stuff that could kill me or an innocent. So we're going to probably call it there for this day cycle. I might actually live on the edge here. I am going to live on the edge. I'm going to use move as well, and I'm going to move up to 2 spaces over to the next sort of neighboring location because I know that this guy is going to move over on the next turn. So that's where I'll end this turn. Again, looking at my sheet here, it is daytime. Nothing happens. The monster doesn't do anything because it hasn't appeared on the board yet. We move over to dusk. This guy advances to dusk here, which is awesome. I get 2 of my cards back. Let's go ahead and shuffle these guys around. 2 cards back. I got aid and move, which is fantastic. That's actually probably going to be the thing that might save my life at the moment, if I'm at risk of dying. And then during dusk, what happens is each of these innocents moves 1 additional space back to a new location. So now there is an innocent at each location on the board except for this one because I have that innocent following me at the moment here. So currently this is the only location that does not have an innocent, which is dope. On my turn here, on the player turn, on the hunter turn, I do not have my operate card, so I cannot continue searching for curios. But I do have aid, and this is where I can do something a little bit tricky, and I'm going to do not something that would be necessarily intuitive if this were the first time you were playing. But the way the doppelganger works is that when it appears, it's going to appear randomly on one of these spaces. And if it appears and there's an innocent on that space, that innocent basically explodes and dies immediately. So in order to make my chances as high as possible that that doesn't happen, I'm going to do 2 things in a specific order. Is first, I'm going to use aid in order to get this innocent to follow me as well. So now I have 2 innocents that are following me. Awesome. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my move action again. Now, if I hadn't drawn this move action, I would not be able to do this, and I would still be at a very, very high risk. So that's, again, just sort of like, I don't know, part of why I've been enjoying this game is that there is an element of luck, right? But it's the fact that I specifically and intentionally kind of overexerted myself that I'm even at risk in the first place. And if I simply hadn't done that and I'd been playing safe, this would have always been an option. So what was lucky this time can be done entirely through skill. So put this over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move just 1 space off so that I'm not on a location. So here I have 2 innocents following me. I'm on a location, or I'm on a street tile, not a location tile. And basically there's a lower chance that if the doppelganger appears, it will eviscerate a innocent that's on the board currently. So we go to the monster phase. Monster phase, it is still not on the board, so that's good. And that means that we move to the next phase where we go from dusk to the bad time. We go from dusk to dark. Oh boy. You know, if I had a D4, let me get a D4 because it doesn't make sense to be using a D6. I've got my dice bag right here. Hold on. Oh, goodness. Okay, there we go. Uh, D4, perfect. Get that guy out of here. Perfect. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Ah. So yes, so now it is dark. When the monster phase comes up, the doppelganger is going to maybe appear, maybe not appear. We'll see. We can only hope for the best. At the start of my turn, I'm going to get two of my cards back. Do a little quick shuffle here. I'll take these two. I got aid and operate, so now I cannot currently move, which is a bit unfortunate. It's actually really unfortunate, but that's fine. Nothing else I want to do on this turn. Actually, you know what? There is something I want to do. I did get aid back, right? One of the things that you can do if you have the aid card, which I will currently play, is I can take all innocents which are currently following me, and if I have made it to an edge of town, which I am at an edge of town, I can evacuate these two innocents. So I'm going to do so. Boom, these innocents are now removed from the game, therefore they cannot be killed, which is awesome and something that we generally want most of the time. And for evacuating those innocents, I get something called a memento. One memento for each innocent that I evacuated. So here I've got two mementos that I've gained. Hooray! Seal that guy back up. Now, these mementos are one of the currencies that I spend over at the company. So the next time I go on a hunt, I can like potentially buy better equipment and tools and things using this currency because I evacuated these innocents. So I lied. I am going to do that action and get this currency while I have the chance to before I need to like leave and run and hide with my tail between my legs. So that is the end of my player phase. It is dark, and it is now the monster phase. And the monster phase says this. If there are one or fewer innocents on the board, do some stuff. But we're not going to do that because... Oh, hold on. Yeah, if there are two or more innocents on the board, which there are currently four, then perform one of the two options below based on a d8 roll. So let me get a d8 here, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'm sorry, d6. No, d8. D8. Ooh, I got 5, and I'm already not looking forward to this. So 5 is going to be the cathedral, which is this location here. And basically, if there was an innocent here, then that innocent would explode, turn into the doppelganger, and we would have a bad time. Fortunately, though, there is no innocent at this location, which means the doppelganger appears, but no innocent dies. So I'm actually doing really well. I was very, like, kind of dodged a bullet there. Because if an innocent had died, I would go down to essentially one hit point and be in just a very, very, very bad place. So what's going to happen is the doppelganger now is essentially going to kind of run around in a circle, trying to run away from us. And my goal is to try and do as much damage to it as humanly possible in an effort to try and kill it before the game ends. Or before it disappears again, because it will disappear each time. So that is what it does on its monster phase. It now exists and is on the board. And in monster phase. We then go over to Dawn. Where's my... Oh, right. I used a different one. Perfect, perfect. So we go back over to Dawn. Excellent. Each innocent takes a step towards its next location that it's trying to get to here. Boop, 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 boop. And I get two cards back, which is my refresh. Now I have a full hand again, and I can try and sort of decide what I'm going to do in order to deal with this guy. The issue here is that as the orphaned prodigy, again, as a small child who's trying to fight back against this horde, I can attempt to begin attacking this guy, and I can attempt essentially to take him out. The thing is that, again, I have no weapons. I have no equipment. I do very little damage, and the number of actions that I can do against it are very, very small. The doppelganger doesn't have a tremendous amount of health, but he has enough health that this might be a losing battle. One of the important things for me at the start of this game, and at the start of just making this game, is the idea that as a low-level hunter, with like no equipment and nothing else going on, you generally should not aim to be trying to kill the thing you are hunting, right? Too difficult to do, especially at the outset. It's not that you can't, it's that it's just really, really, really hard. So kind of knowing my place and knowing what's going on, I am going to basically chill. I'm not going to try and fight the monster. I'm not going to try and go for the apple in the sky. I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to get both curios and mementos for this game, and just try and power up as much as I can. So, having said that, I'm going to do two things, which is first is play a move, and I'm going to move 2 spaces back, boom, boom, over to here, and then I will use an aid, like such, in order to pick up this innocent. So that's my turn for Dawn. It then moves to the monster phase, and what's going to happen is the monster is going to move Curious 2, which means that they're going to move in a curious fashion 2 spaces. In this particular case, curious means that they're going to follow in the order that the innocents were moving in. So it's going to go 1, 2, and move over to the next location here. That's all it's going to do. The low-level doppelganger is largely benign. Its biggest threat that it is in any sort of context is the threat of appearing where an innocent is and killing that innocent and then doing damage to you that way. That is the low-level doppelganger, and it makes a really, really good sort of starter boss because its threat to you is not very direct or even prevalent. It's a very, very like passive thing. So this is a really, really good boss to start and sort of like learn the rules and get familiar with the flow of things because there's not necessarily a lot it's going to do. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my god, why is this thing so boring to fight? That's why. And the cool news is that 2 bits. One is that we're going to go to a different boss after this. We're going to try another boss called the Stygia, which is exceptionally more violent and a much larger threat than the doppelganger is. That's the first bit of good news. And then the second bit of good news is that each boss has 2 versions, right? One version is the low-level version for new hunters, right? So when you have no equipment, you have very little experience, you have very few actions, there's very little going on. That's the low-level versions of each boss, so that you can even like manage and sort of scrape something together. Once each character gets above a certain rank, right? Remembering that we have these down here, then you get to fight the high level or the advanced version of each of these bosses. And whereas the low level doppelganger is one of the most benign and sort of unthreatening early monsters, the advanced doppelganger is pretty much a nightmare. And we'll get to that later today, hopefully, right? Is see what the advanced doppelganger does. So remember this setup because later it's going to be much worse. Anyway, during the monster phase of Dawn, the doppelganger moves 2 spaces and just sort of chills out. Normally, if I was actually trying to hunt him, I would need to keep up with him while attacking him as he wanders around until he disappears back into the crowd. Uh, hey, Rapid, how you doing? No worries. The previous stream might not have even happened. I've been like really sick, and so I haven't streamed in an embarrassing amount of time. But we're back today, so no worries there. Anyway, in monster phase, we go over to the daytime, like such. Daytime, I've only used 2 actions. I'm going to get both of these actions back, which is awesome. Um, the innocents do not move, and on the daytime, I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. So I had only 2 turns really to attack the doppelganger once he's appeared. And now that it's daytime, he's going to disappear back into the crowd. So he's going to move 1 and 2. And then at the start of the next turn, or at the end of this turn, rather, he will disappear back into the crowd. I'm going to pop over and I'm going to use my movement, 1 movement here, in order to go 2 spaces again over to here. And then I'm going to use aid again in order to pick up that particular innocent. So now we've gone down and there are only 2 innocents left on the board, which is awesome. Technically, these guys are still in play. And so if we are in a situation where the... if I was... So I have these innocents that are following me, right? If all of us, kind of as a stack here, were on this location and the doppelganger were to appear at this location, even though those innocents are following me and under my protection, they would still die. So it's kind of important that I like avoid these locations kind of as much as possible so that my followers don't explode. But, we're playing it as best we can. And I'm so sorry, Rapid, because I've been sick. I have not gotten a chance to check your game yet. I will do that after the stream today, for sure. All I've been doing is choking down emergency-laden orange juice and trying not to talk as much as possible. So I picked up another innocent here. I'm going to go ahead and in my phase, it goes over to the monstrosity phase. And all that the monster does here is he vanishes back into the crowd and is removed for the board from now. Perfect. Nothing else that he does during that phase. And so we go over to dusk. Perfect. During dusk, each innocent is going to move 1 additional space back to one of these locations here, and then it goes to the monster phase, or I'm sorry, it goes to the player phase. I get my 2 cards back, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did earlier, which I might take a bit of a risk here, which again, being riskier than I normally would be. Normally, if I was like playing and this was not a game that I had made, I would like try and be risk averse in many ways. But because we're doing some fun stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and take the risks. I'm gonna actually use move and aid 1 more time each in order to move over to this location and pick up this innocent. So I currently have 3 innocents that are following me, which is awesome. The thing is that during this particular at the start of the next monster phase, which is going to happen while I'm in this location, if we roll this D8 and it comes up as a what's the number here? The apothecary. If this rolls a 1, all the innocents that are following me are going to explode, and I will definitely be uber dead. I will be dead, I think, 3 times over? No, just twice over. Twice and then some. So this is a bit of a risky move. We're just hoping that in a 1 in 8 chance I do not get the 1. So that's my player turn. It goes to the monster phase. And basically at that point, let's see kind of what happens here. Oh, I'm sorry. At the monster phase, this ticks over because the monster phase doesn't do anything. This ticks over. And then at the start of the new turn, I do get these actions back, but the doppelganger appears. So let's see. Oh my goodness. I'm so sad. That's literally the exact thing. So in as far as the rules of the game are concerned, um I took a very specific risk, which was that I brought all of the innocents who were following me to this location, in the hopes that when I rolled this die, it wouldn't roll up as a one, and it of course rolled a one, and so all of those innocents die. My character explodes because I don't have the health to cover that kind of loss, and this hunt failed. Um, in the interest of time and patience, I'm not going to make you watch me do all of this again. I'm going to simply roll this die again and take whatever the second result here is. So we're just going to pretend essentially that I didn't just lose my very first game solo with my own board game. Five. What a much better number. That's great. I can't believe I talked up rolling a one that much and then rolled a one. That's dumb as hell. Okay, five. Five. That's the cathedral again, which is what we got last time. There are no innocents there, which means that no one explodes. That is awesome. Again, this is a hypothetical situation because I did just lose a moment ago. So here, the doppelganger appears. It is now the middle of the night. I have both of my actions back, and I can do kind of whatever here. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move one space to an edge of town, using a move action, like such. And then I'm going to evacuate all three innocents that are following me, which is awesome, using aid. And so I get three additional mementos, which is awesome. So now I have a total of five mementos, which is a pretty penny. I'm using nickels, so I guess it's a pretty nickel. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. So, that's what I do on my turn. Monster phase, he's going to move Curious 2. Boom, boom. And then that day ends, and we are back on 1 here. So no, this is not the. I've been working on two games. This is one of them is the video game, and that's what we've been doing most of the time. And then this here is a board game, and this is something I've been working on as well. So we're just basically going through and play testing and figuring out a bunch of stuff for the board game today, because a couple people were asking about it. So that ends. It's dawn now. Dawn is a new day. Each innocent moves one space towards its next location. This guy moves on top of me. I get my cards back. And then soon the monster will move as well. Or no, he moves at the start of the turn here. Boom, boom. Like such. So I get to do kind of whatever here, and kind of the thing is like I said, I'm not really going to try and fight the doppelganger. And I'm not going to try and fight the doppelganger because, again, I have no weapons, I have no equipment, I have nothing that is particularly effective to fight against him with. So I'm just going to try and go around and do as best as I can to gather equipment and gather materials and currencies that I can spend back at the company, and then I'm just going to bounce. So that's the plan. So first I'll use aid to go ahead and pick up the one innocent that is moved into my space, like a lovely person here. I'll use move in order to move over one space back to here. And then I'm going to try and use operate again in order to rummage around and see if I can find anything. Again, for this particular die roll, I need to get a 3 or lower. And I have a 6. The dice hate me. These dice are absolutely going to kill me. So nothing happens. I end my turn. It goes to the monster phase. During the monster phase, there's nothing this guy does. So we go over to day. And at the start of the day, the doppelganger is going to move 2 spaces. And when his monster phase comes around, then he will vanish off the board. So I get 2 of my actions back. There are lots of ghosts. There's an infinite number of ghosts. So many ghosts. So I get 2 of these back, and the 2 I get back are operate and aid, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and use operate again, try and roll that die, try and get literally anything to happen. 4, it's just not gonna happen, which is a bit irritating. And then probably what I might do is oh, I don't have move. I can't move yet. I have to wait until I can get my move card back. So I'll go ahead and end my turn there. And then during the monster phase, the doppelganger disappears back into the crowd. Moves on to the next phase here. It is now dusk. The innocent would move to its next location, except it's following me, so it does not do so. There are no innocents left on the board, which now means, coincidentally, that every time it's dark, the doppelganger will appear. Just period, right? Because there's not enough people left in town for the doppelganger to hide. So just it will appear every single night now. I'm going to go ahead and draw my actions back. And I'll try doing it just one more time. We'll see if I can here. I'm going to operate and try and find a thing here. Which, nope, I still don't get it. That sucks. And then what I will do is I will use a move action to move my character 1 space to the side. And then I will use aid, finally, to evacuate this last guy. I'm going to get a last memento for doing so, which is a lot of mementos. I actually got literally every memento in this particular hunt, which is not how I was expecting that to go. I was expecting it to go much worse right out the start. Technically, I did lose. Technically, I died. But we're just going to ignore that happened and pretend that it didn't here. So I've got another memento, and as part of my aid action and evacuating the innocent, I'm also going to evacuate myself. One of the things about this game is that your survival as a hunter is like of peak importance, right? So it's important that you can end the game for yourself whenever you need to. And in order to do so, you just have to make it to an edge of town, and then essentially just leave. You don't get to play anymore for that game until all players have left, but you do get to keep everything that you gained throughout that round. Now, because I died due to that one roll, right, I would lose everything, right? Everything that was on my hunter, everything that happened, I fundamentally lost, right? But again, in the interest of like showing off part of this game and everything going on, and then also not having to go through this entire process a second time, we kept going, and now I actually get to keep these. I'm evacuating, and while I didn't do, in theory, the objective, which was to eliminate the doppelganger, I did make it out with progress. Like I did make progress by saving some people and getting these mementos here. So let's go ahead and gear up, and let's move on to the second game and see what we can get done in there. I'm really sad I didn't get any curios. That's a bit unfortunate. Curios are a really, really, really great way to get some really good gear, but the gear I'm going to get for the mementos is good nonetheless. So let's take these locations, let's put them all back together here, like such. Where's my little location pile? There it is. Perfect. I'll take these guys. Awesome. Perfect. So now the only difference here is that this is my character deck. Again, this is everything that I have that my character can do. But there is a difference is that not only do I have this, I have one additional thing for my character, which is I have my stack of currency, right? This is you imagine for like a video game, you have your save file, right, that contains everything that you've done up until that point. This is essentially the board game equivalent of your save file. Is everything that you have in this deck is yours to play with, and then everything you have here is yours to spend. And if there's a point where you're like, oh, okay, well let's take a break here, let's pack it up, and we'll play again tomorrow or something like that. This is what each player would have like a little arrangement that looks kind of like this, and this is how you save your progress for down the road. So what we did was we played one hunt. I'm looking at my little thing here, and granted, I've been explaining stuff and stuff, but it took about like 30 minutes. Um, Something on the order of that in order to get through while explaining. And now this is where I'm at, and we would stop here if I were going to stop. And then next time I can pick this up and I can be like, oh yeah, I was playing this character, and this is essentially what I have to go with, which is awesome. So let's go on our next hunt, and the next thing that we're going to be hunting is the Stygia. And the Stygia is a much angrier version of a monster. It actually has less health than the Doppelganger, which is the thing that we just fought. But unlike the Doppelganger, this thing is going to come at my face with a passion. It is going to definitely try and kill me. So let's set up the store and spend some of our money. I'm only going to set up the memento store because the only currency that I have to spend is mementos, right? Normally you'd set up all three and all the players could sort of pick and choose from the options, but since I only have one currency, it only makes sense to lay out one store. Now, for the moment, each of these items costs only one of its respective currency. Each of these only costs one memento. This is part of what we're testing for and looking through today is that should they cost more, should they cost less? We don't know. 4, 5. Set this deck down over here, and then we'll turn these guys over here. So I've got a protect, that's awesome. I've got a damage negate, that's awesome. A second protect. Ooh, a move plus. Oh, 2 move pluses. This is awesome. So like I said, for the moment, each of these only costs 1. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to definitely get a move plus. Move plus says that play this at the same time that you play a move card. You may move an additional space this turn, and this effect applies to both sprinting and creeping. So here I got a move plus. That's awesome. I'm going to take this for the time being and put it in my character deck. So now it's in there. And of course I spent a memento to do so, so I'm going to set that off to the side. And then we'll replace that store, which is a heal. Since I'm fighting a Stygia, that may not be a bad option. Oof. I'm actually having to think here because knowing that I'm going to fight. Normally, the way this would work is that you pick your hunter first. You're assigned your contract second, so you do get to know what it is you're fighting. And then the third thing is going to the shop. So as you're shopping here, you actually know what it is you're trying to prepare against. And the Stygia is kind of a fun portmanteau. So stigmata, is it stigmata? Stigmatism. I'm sorry. Astigmatism is a eye condition that prevents sight and it makes it hard to see. But it's spelled as in Stygian, so Styg, which is of basically like relating to hell. So the Stygia is essentially a blind hell monster. And what it does is loosely inspired by the movie A Quiet Place, right? So you have these monsters with incredible hearing, but no or very, very poor eyesight. So this monster, whenever I make certain sounds by doing certain actions, it's essentially going to charge across the board in order to get to wherever that sound was made. And I just need to be very, very careful. So bearing that in mind and then looking kind of at what I've got going on here, I'm trying to decide what is the best way to do this. And I might actually take, I feel like taking another move plus would be kind of redundant. I could do it and it would be really, really awesome for some turns, but then recovering from that would be super awful. I should actually, here, let's be smart. And I know there's like a glare and you can't see very well, but we've got move plus, heal, protect, damage, negate, and protect. Two protects. I think I'll go ahead and spend one of my currencies on a protect as well. I think protect will be a pretty good one. Yes. We'll go ahead and refresh that shop with this, which is another protect. Um, and I think that's actually all the equipment I'm going to buy. Maybe. No, you know what? Screw it. I'll use one more of my mementos in order to buy the heal. And unless something amazing comes down, another move plus. No. Okay. So yeah, so this is the equipment I've bought in order to take on the Stygia. So this is a new monster, far more violent and far more aggressive than the Doppelganger. Um, but unlike my fight with the Doppelganger, I actually have some new abilities here. So for one is that I've got a heal. I've got a protect. So if there is an innocent that is at range 0, meaning that I'm on the same space as an innocent, and that innocent would take damage, I can prevent all of that damage for a couple of times. And then the last one is I've got a move plus, which is going to be really, really important. All move plus does is it adds an extra movement space to your move action. But importantly, it means that I can increase the distance which I can creep. Creeping is like moving slower, but it doesn't make any sound, and you remain hidden from the vision of whatever it is you're fighting. And against a blind, hearing sensitive monster, this is going to be really, really important. So that's what we'll do. Um, yeah, perfect. So let's go ahead and get our locations and set up our board, and we'll start fighting the Stygia and see how this goes. I might actually try to fight the Stygia this time. If it starts going really, really south, we'll bounce out of there. But hopefully it doesn't, right? So this also uses the apothecary sanatorium. Uh, oh no, that's just copied over. And I realize also that I forgot in that last round to actually look at any of the effects of these locations as I was in them. But combat also didn't really happen in any of those locations, so we didn't really miss much. Um, this is another thing I need to go through is probably looking at locations. I believe like the farmstead residences. Let me lay all of these out for just a moment here. I would say the butcher shop, the courthouse, the residences, the farmsteads. How many is that? Four. We'll do a fifth one. Um, and the sanatorium will be the locations for the Stygia here. So the Stygia has only 10 hit points, which is awesome. I can work with that. and I deal 2 damage per attack. So 2 damage. Let me double check. It should be 2 damage, just with my innate abilities to poke things. Yes, 2 damage to start. So this is a weaponless child can do 2 damage. That's notes for you for the the future, I suppose. So here we've got these locations. I'm going to kind of set them out like this. And this particular monster does not have a preset way in which these streets and everything need to be laid out. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to lay out these streets basically in any fashion that I want, and make any kind of pretty little pattern that I feel will be fun to navigate around. I had a, I'll do this like such. Perfect. We'll do one of these guys like that. I'll put this right here. We'll do something like that. And I'm just going around being like, yeah, it would look cool like this, or it would look cool like that. The courthouse over here is going to be a bummer to deal with. It is very isolated over there, but that's okay. Might set this guy here. I'll do another one of these like such. The only real rule for placing down these tiles is that you cannot have any 2 locations directly next to each other. So it's here, it's all along the outside. I'm going to do just a few more connecting tiles. At some point, there will be a very specific list for you should have this many tiles doing this many things and so on. But for now, it's just sort of whatever feels good at the moment. So we'll get this all squared away. Perfect, perfect. So each location has all of the same things that they had before. Each one has a curio that I can potentially pillage by using a operate action. So that's great. Each location also has an innocent that I can save if I go around. These innocents will not be moving. Oops, that's not a token. Give me this. Yeah. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's... There he is. So each location also has an innocent. These innocents will not be moving around. They don't do any sort of rotating or anything like the doppelganger does. They just sort of chill and hang out. And I will need to protect them, but that will be a different story here. And I can start on any tile that I want to. So I'll go, that's again at the edge of town and not a location. So I'll probably go ahead and click in right about here, I suppose. We'll do just fine. And then the last thing is, again, unlike the doppelganger, the whole thing with the doppelganger is that it's a creature that's a shapeshifter, it blends into the crowd, and it like fades in and out of being on the board. For the Stygia, this thing absolutely begins on the board and is angry from beginning until end. So he begins, and let me double check here, on a Does he have a starting space? Oh, it does not look like he has a starting space. Okay. I'm going to say he starts on the farmsteads because that's sort of what I was thinking here. Farmsteads. So yeah, I'm going to say that our lovely Stygia guy here starts on the farmsteads. And this is going to be kind of a rowdy fight, and I don't actually know that I'm going to be capable of this. I might have overtuned the Stygia, and he might be way too difficult to deal with here. So Um, in fact, I'm reading the rules. So the basically as I'm reading over here and what I have written down, it does not look like I could even win with this situation. It looks like no matter what I would do, this would result in instant defeat. Um, so maybe we'll actually just take out that rule, I suppose. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a try with the rules that I have currently. Basically, the rule is that if the Stygia moves through a space that contains an innocent that's not following you, that innocent just dies. And because I only have the 7 hit points, I can only lose one innocent this game before I die. So let's go ahead and we'll just we'll figure it out. So these cards that I have, the ones that I bought for the mementos, they are equipment cards, which means that as equipment cards, I can use each of them twice. And I'll use a little tokens to represent the 2 times that I can use each of these. We'll use these little pennies that I got here. Um, so yeah, this is gonna be rough. This is gonna be very, very, very rough. Boom, boom, and boom. I guess technically I could lose 2 innocents because I have the heal, and I forgot about the heal, which is awesome. So maybe we're gonna give it a try. This might be much harder than it needs to be. So the basic play works like this. It is the start of dawn on the first day. So, boop, got the 1. Welcome to dawn. And it is the player turn. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm immediately going to move, and I need to quick double check. Sprint, rummage, aid, or attack. Those are the things that will cause problems here. Interesting. So what I'm going to do, interesting, is sorry, I'm actually having to strategize here against my own monster. Um, I think I'm going to use a fight action. Fight is what I'm going to use first. You can play cards even if there is no target for that card, right? So even though I'm using fight and I don't have anything that I can fight, I can still play the card and have like put it into my sort of expended category over here. The whole thing with the Stygia and the way this guy works and the reason why he's so fancy is, and I need another marker, I'm going to use this guy again, is that whenever you do certain actions against the Stygia, you place a herd token in that space. So because I used a fight, right, I've placed this herd token in this space now. The thing is that when my player phase is over and it goes over to the monster phase, this blind monster is going to book it into a beeline to this location and then deal a crap ton of damage there. But it's blind, so whether or not I'm there is up for debate, right? So the thing I'm going to do is here I've moved over, or I'm sorry, I've used fight the herd token is here, and then I'm going to use a move action, and specifically I'm going to use the move creep. Creep only lets you move one space at a time as opposed to two, but I can creep over into this next space and be hidden. So the thing is that I essentially made a noise here and then moved over a space, creeping away, without making a noise here. So currently, the Stygia is, well, let's just play it out, right? So I'm only doing the two actions. I used fight to put down the herd token, and then I used move to creep over one space away from the herd token. I end my turn. It goes over to the monster phase, and at the beginning of the monster phase, what's going to happen is the Stygia moves up to 5 spaces towards the herd token. So here I've got 1, 2, 3. Clicks over to here. And then it does 6 damage to everything in this space. Luckily, there's nothing in that space, which is awesome. So, cool. We've got that now. Then what's going to happen is after the ending its movement or dealing damage, place the herd token on the innocent nearest to the Stygia. So here, there's an innocent in this tile. This is where the herd token is going to move to, and that was the Stygia's turn. It then goes on to daytime. I may not be able to kill this thing. I might just have to run from it and try and keep as many people safe as possible. So here we've got daytime. I get both of my actions back. And what I'm going to do specifically with these actions is I'm just going to kind of run and hide from this thing. And it's actually going to be a game of cat and mouse as I try and do so. I'm realizing this is really cool with 2 players, because with 2 players, what you can actually do is make sounds back and forth across the board in order to get the Stygia to run back and forth, essentially in circles, trying to find someone. But since I've got just myself and I'm playing solo, I don't have another player to make those sounds for me. So things actually are getting kind of tricky by doing it this way. So first I'm going to use aid. I'm going to get this innocent to follow me. That's awesome. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use move, and I'm going to creep one space away as such. Aid would cause the herd token to appear where I'm at, but it's already there, so we're fine. I pass over to the monster phase. He moves over to where the herd token is, up to 5 spaces away. It does damage, but again, there's nothing there, so everything is good. Now, the way I've had this is that the herd token moves at the end of his phase to whichever innocent has the is nearest to him. Which let me do some counting: 1, 2, and 3. That one's probably the closest. Yes. So the Stygia is now going to, or the herd token rather, I'm sorry, is now going to move over to this location. So even though I didn't make any sound, he still hears the innocents rummaging around the village. And now I need to deal with a situation. His phase ends, it moves over to dusk, and now the situation I have to deal with is this. I need to get to, ideally, that innocent and, get them out of there, or somehow divert his attention. Because if I don't, then that innocent will die, and he will deal damage to me as he rushes over there. So I think what I'm going to do is essentially the exact same thing I did previously, which is that I'm going to fight in order to make a sound where I'm at. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use move, and I'm going to use creep, but instead of just using it as is, I'm going to play it here. I'm going to remove one of my move plus tokens here in order to increase my creep space by 1. So essentially what that means is that now I get to go without the herd token. That gets to stay left behind. I'm going to move 1 and 2. But because, I'm moving the wrong thing. 1 and 2. But because I was creeping, because I had the move plus, I was now able to get over there and essentially make it to where I needed to while creeping, which is awesome. So we've got that. That's where things are. I pass over to the monster. And you can see this is bouncing back really, really quickly, which is great. I don't like having to do a whole bunch of dice rolls and a whole bunch of like figuring out and stuff between each round. It's really fun to be like, this is what I want to do. You do that thing, and then it just moves on from there. The Stygia tracks to the nearest herd token, doesn't attack, hears nothing, and hits nothing, and then this moves to the nearest innocent, which again is right on top of me. That's that. Passes over to my phase. I get these cards back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to aid and pick up this innocent here. Boom, boom. And then I'm going to creep one space away and leave the herd token behind. Now then, here is where there's a bit of some interesting stuff. I can tell already, just through playtesting what we've done so far. Oh, pardon me. I'm maybe not 100% yet, so we're working on it. But I can tell through this process that I have just enough actions and I have just enough stuff that I can do that essentially I can always stay one step ahead of the Stygia and where its herd token is. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I can stay one step ahead of the monster, and I could go through and I could actually collect and pick up each of these innocents and like keep them safe. I could evacuate all of them before this guy could catch up to me. It's interesting because if you have two players, then this changes dramatically because you can like this monster gets a lot not less intimidating, but a lot less or a lot more manageable because you could bounce them back and forth between locations when you have two players. But solo, I don't know. I thought I might be able to actually fight against this guy, but I don't necessarily think that I can. I think this is a thing that I would need fundamentally to be a higher rank orphan prodigy. Need to be a higher rank hunter in order to actually be able to fight this thing. I do not think that I can fight it like this, which is interesting. I didn't think that through. So I might kind of wrap this particular round up and just take all of the mementos that I can get. This is a sign where, like, so basically questioning, is this desirable design or undesirable design? And actually just talking about game design in general, this is like a problem that comes up kind of regularly. Like it kind of is the problem of design, is that frequently there's the idea of like good design and bad design. Good design is something that people can interact with like smoothly and easily, and bad design is something that is very, very difficult to interact with. This boss and sort of everything it has going on, the interactions with it aren't complicated. They're the same as any other boss. What's interesting, though, is that because I'm alone and because I do not have another player here that I'm playing with, and of course, as a solo person, I could play as two different characters at the same time. That obviously would make everything easier, and I could do that. But as a solo character playing this game, the way the boss is designed currently, oh, pardon me, at the level that I'm at, forces me to fight it a very particular way. And the question is not, is that way good or bad? The question is, that way desirable or undesirable? I do like the idea that the only thing I can do against this particular creature at the low rank that I'm at is run from it. it is not possible for me to fight it as a solo character. I just don't have enough actions or enough things that I can do that will actually make it possible for me to fight it. So I think that's fun. I think that's probably desirable, but it does kind of lead to an interesting situation into like what exactly am I doing anyway? Because if I can do play the same two actions multiple turns in a row and kind of kite my way around, essentially this game doesn't have anything that I really need to or am trying to do in it, which means it's solved, right? This particular game is solved. I could just as easily take all of the mementos, or as many mementos as there are players, and I would never have to play this. So that's not good, though. That is not desirable. That is not how this should go. So let me make a note of this. Is that with the as a solo character. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's one of the issues that a number of these things have is that they can kind of be solved. Like you can perform the same action over and over and over again to make progress without there being a chance for anything going wrong. Which, again, talking about design, is kind of where the idea of randomness comes in. Is that randomness is a double-edged sword. Randomness can be really, really good, and randomness can be really, really, really bad. Um, what you want to do is make sure that whenever you include randomness, you're taking something which is static and that is like not interesting because it's static, and then giving there a chance for failure, right? So if you think about Dungeons and Dragons, for example, whenever you play Dungeons and Dragons, in order to do basically anything, what you have to do is like, okay, I want to attack this thing. All right, well, roll a 20-sided die, and if you get above a certain threshold, then your attack is successful. So there's no way for it to be like you just always are able to do the thing you want to do, which is can be frustrating at times, but it does create an enjoyable amount of suspense. This being solved in that there's no chance for something to go wrong, and I can make progress, is something that I think actually afflicts a few different aspects of the board game as it currently stands. So that's something that I'll want to address and change over time as well. So I'll probably here. Let me finish making my note, and then we might actually just wrap up this uh, particular fight here. This is interesting. I have not played this again. I haven't played very many games as a solo character yet. So a lot of the things have been made for two or more characters. So playing things as a solo here is showing some defects that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. As a solo character, um, boss fight is solved. Okay, cool. So that's my note for why this needs fixing. Cool. So yeah, I'll actually just go ahead and pack this up and say that I got the additional mementos. So I had 3, 5. I'll just refresh with these. That's not really here nor there. And we'll pack these guys in. So yeah, anytime you can solve a game, that's not good. That's a sign that something has gone awry and there's something there that you'll need or want to fix in some fashion. It's also one of the reasons why games like tic-tac-toe are simultaneously great and awful, right? Is tic-tac-toe is a game where you can play it a couple times, and then as long as you are playing like the smartest move each game, it almost becomes impossible for either player to lose. Like, if you have two people who are paying attention, tic tac toe will always result every single time in a draw, which is not good. If only there were a way to improve tic-tac-toe. Interesting. So the last monster that we've got is specifically the oh no. Yeah. Okay. The last monster that we're going to fight is the Siren. That's going to be the last thing that we take on today. And we're going to see how that fight goes as a solo. And if it does well, then that's great. And if it doesn't, well, we will have learned things. We put these mementos back over here. Re-disassemble the board. And then we'll re-put it back together in just a moment here. This will be our last boss fight for the day. Man, I am dissatisfied with how that fight with the Stygia goes. Because it really is like an interesting fight with two people. In part because you can direct its attention around. And you can do some really clever things, right? With higher level characters, the number of options you have in each boss fight goes up dramatically. So the idea with the Stygia is that it runs really, really, really fast towards wherever the herd token is. And you can kind of control where the herd token is in order to cause it to move in specific directions, right? So one of my favorite sort of things that you can do that I wanted to try immediately, like once we got the base form of the monster squared up, is my girlfriend and I set it up so where we were sort of kiting it around, we were evacuating people and getting everybody out of the way. And then what we did was one of us painstakingly went through and set up a whole bunch of traps. There are traps in this game, like you can place them in a tile and leave a trap there that will do damage to a monster if they move through it. We set up a whole string of traps in a row quietly while the other person was quietly like kiting the monster around, keeping it busy. And then we lined it up and essentially made a sound on the other side of the entire string of traps. And just based on the rules for the Stygia, it ran through each of these traps to get to the herd token and was dead before it even got to where it was trying to get to. So we were able to kill the Stygia and succeed in the hunt by setting up all of these traps in the way and then just using its mechanics in order to kill it, which was really like a lot of fun. Just doing it that way. And you can fight it and you can do all sorts of other stuff as well. But with one player, those options don't exist. Now, funnily enough, just again talking about some other bits of design, is that like it's worth saying, okay, is that something that we want low level players to do, or is that something that you have to earn by playing these kind of like binary games to get those abilities? One of the things about the Orphan Prodigy, this child, is their design philosophy is that unlike all of the other characters, their stats, like their health and their damage, remain low, no, even as they rank up. A legendary, which legend being the final rank of each character, a legendary Orphan Prodigy still has really low health. They do really low damage, and they're not great at those things. But they get more cards, and they get more cards back each turn than any other character. So these are all of the actions that a legendary Orphan Prodigy would be able to do, like in a single turn if they wanted to. And you get a huge number of cards back at the start of each fresh turn. So what's interesting is that like with this spread, the Prodigy, like a high level Prodigy, could go in and be able to like evacuate people, attack the monster, and move the herd token around all very, very easily. So I don't know. It's interesting. It just trying to balance the progression of things, I guess, for lack of a better description, because I don't want the powerless players, the players who are just starting the game and have no power, to be so powerless that they don't feel like they can do anything, right? And that's a tricky and very, very fine line to balance, right? Is like you need to be weak and you need to feel weak, but not so weak that you can't keep playing and you can't overcome the challenges that the game is presenting you. So, and that I think is probably the roughest part of this game so far, is that when you feel strong, it feels very good. When you feel strong and when you get strong, there's a lot that you can do, and it's awesome to play that way. It's just that the starting out when you are not strong doesn't feel always as smooth as it probably ought to. Oh God, my voice is deteriorating. I thought I was better. Maybe not as better as I thought. The last one is the Siren. I do not have any location set out for the Siren, so we'll just do like 5 locations here, and we'll sort of set them around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll work out fine. Um, the Siren is rough. Actually, no, I lied. We will, of course, do more of the board game, but I might call it there. I can still feel my throat from being sick is like starting to like wear out, and I imagine if I go for too much longer, I'm just not going to be able to talk at all. Like I can feel it all getting gross. So actually, we might pause there. We might pause there. The good news, though, is that we what we can do, and maybe this is actually the way to do this, I'm thinking here, is we can save the game, right? So remember, this is what our character is, and our character has earned from that last game a certain number of mementos. We'll keep track of those. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mementos. And this is what our save state is for this character. So we'll stop here. And we'll come back to this probably in maybe a week, or maybe what we'll do is we'll make like the Monday of each week be board game day, and then we'll do Wednesday and Friday as the video game days, something along those lines. We'll figure it out, and we'll sort of work on all of this at the same time. So I think that's where I'll stop for today. My throat is just still not quite doing it quite as well as I wanted it to, but that's okay. Anyway, thank you guys for popping in. I appreciate you as always. Just any views are always welcome and wonderful. You're all beautiful people. You all get some rest. I'm actually probably going to drink some more orange juice and then go back to bed myself. But get some rest here, and then I will see you guys in the morning. So.